The KARDACHI man. That's KARDACHI. KARDACHI. The KARDACHI man. The indigenous people of Australia have up to 75 different dialects, depending on the region where they come from. So, the name of this being could be called something entirely different in the other dialects, but my local tribe called it the KARDACHI man, as I have already explained in the initial spelling. Growing up in an outback town, you get a lot of freedom that you take for granted, but that freedom could also get you into trouble. Big trouble. This occurred to me when I was about 11 years old in my hometown. I'm writing these lines in February of the year 2017. My Aboriginal friend and I were walking around. We were walking around town, bored out of our brains during school holidays. The rest of our friends had gone away for the holidays, so we decided to go fishing in a secret spot down by the old Aboriginal encampment, where they were moved after the occupation of their land in our area, which was about 15 kilometers out of town. We headed around to the butchery to pick up some meat for yabbies, to his house for rods and traps, and then we went to my house for food, drinks, and a shovel, as we planned to dig some worms out by the river. As for the word yabbies, YABBIES, it's just craywater fish. We got all the necessary supplies and we headed out along the highway. We got all the necessary supplies and we headed out along the side of the highway. We were walking and talking and stuffing around when we finally got there. For the people wondering, stuffing around means to be fooling around. We headed down the sand road and we came across the fence that blocked off the sacred land. There was a statue of some sort on the boundary, and my mate stopped and said a few words. He always said that his dad told him to do it, otherwise the bad spirits could see us. I told him that this was silly and I skipped it. We go down the back of the camp and we walk on another kilometer or so on and we found our spot. All the noises of the bush were there, and there was a nice breeze blowing through the old ghost gums. Those are actually gum trees. We could see the fish jumping, and we knew we were in for a good day. We start digging around for worms and come up with a few big good ones, and we get to fishing. The day gets on and it turns out that we are terrible fishermen with rods that are completely useless in our hands, so we abandon them and get into the water to catch fish with our hands. It turns out I'm also a terrible hand fisher. I am just terrible at it, but my mate ends up catching a decent sized yellow belly, so we keep it for eating and showing off. For the people wondering, a yellow belly, it's a yellow perch. We hadn't kept an eye on the time, and before we knew it, the sun had set. My friend starts getting really nervous, saying that it's time to get out of there and we really need to leave. I ask him why, and he says that it's really unsafe to be there after dark. I laugh, and at that exact moment there is a huge splash in the water right behind us. We both shit a little bit. with both shit bricks. But with our childish bravery, we check it out and we can't see a thing. Just ripples on top of the water. We dismiss it as a big fish and we start to pack up our stuff to leave that place. By the time we start our march back to the civilization, it is pitch black. It's completely pitch dark. We can barely see our hands in front of us, and we forgot to pack a torch, so we kind of fumble our way through the bush until our eyes adjusted. We were walking for about 20 minutes when we stopped. We can hear heavy footsteps off to our left, about 15 meters away. We strain our hearing and the footsteps stop. We then realize that the bush is silent. No wind. Nothing. Our eyes had adjusted to the dark, so we can kind of see where we were going, and we realize that we have overshot the road by about half a kilometer, and whatever was making the footsteps was between us and the road. So we decide to push on and come along the highway further up the road. That was a mistake. Big mistake. The footsteps kept persisting, sometimes closer, sometimes further away. I completely swear that at times I could hear low mumbling. I kept saying to my friend, but he told me to shut up and not to look back. It can't see us right now, it cannot see us. That was what he kept saying, so I push on, my feeling getting more and more uneasy. The next second, we hear a loud crash come from our left on the small animal trail that we were on, and my mate grabs me and pulls me off into the scrub and tells me to lay down. As we were laying right there, we see a silhouette loom up to the path. It kind of has the outline of feathers all around it, and it is ungodly tall and humanoid, but sickly thin. It is going from tree to tree, not very far away from us, and it is looking all around, snapping its head and making a low mumbling sound as it moves. It was looking for us. It keeps moving around where we were standing, and it suddenly stops, and then it stoops looking back down the path, where we hear what could have been a kangaroo jump off into the bush. being lets out an unearthly scream that hurts our ears, and then it shoots off down the path faster than anything I've ever seen. I looked to my mate and I whispered to him if he had just seen what I had, but then I look and he had his heads in his hands the whole time. He then answered, "We are not allowed to look. I told you." His cheeks were all tear-stained, and after that he whispered, "I told you that he would see you." After that we waited for what felt like 2 hours, and we bailed out of the bushes and ran the remaining distance to town, losing our fish along the way and some other stuff. We finally made it, and every time I tried to bring it up with him, he told me always to shut my mouth or it would come back. So eventually I stopped. I haven't been able to sleep right ever since.